like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like in that first hour or so, you kind of just like everything is discombobulated. And like, for instance, you're like, oh, snap, I need to go outside. And then you completely forget your jacket. And it's just like how I don't understand what it is about waking up that. See, this is why I feel like we need an hour or two after waking up just to like get our bearings and stuff like that. I'm understanding this now because I'm older, but tell me.
Us waking up early and having like an hour before school. So when I get to school, I'm actually awake. So I'm not waking up in the middle of class.
See, I miss that, man. And then they give us homework that keeps us up until like 11, 12 o'clock. And I'm just like, bro, we got to breakfast, hang out with friends. I'm like, we ain't got no social time, whatever. It was not the bee's knees. It was not the bee's knees at all. Huh?
You miscombobulated this morning?
Dude, so I'm not even going to front. I stayed up hecka long last night playing Call of Duty because I was going hard. Like, I was going so hard. You couldn't tell me I wasn't. I was going so hard. I was absolutely owning people in this game. And I was like, man, I know I'm going to regret this in the morning, but I know that my body not inadequately, but like, I know that my body wakes up naturally at like, depending on what time I go to sleep, either 6 or 8. So I was like, I think I'll be all right. No, I was not all right. And I am not all right.
It was not it.
I mean, it was worth it. I done jumped the ranks from like level 0 not level 0, level 1, all the way to like level 43. I think I ended on in like 2 days. So yeah, I've been playing for like 2 or 3 days now, and dog, I've been going hard. I think Realism TDM is like my new favorite game mode from Call of Duty of all time. Like, I absolutely love it, but yeah.
I'm surprised and actually really not surprised at the exact same time.
You know, it's just one of those things, you know, like I was like, I need something to just decompress, and I don't really have like a thing because I just kind of do whatever. But from time to time, I'll just play video games and stuff like that. And then it's like I feel bad because like in the moments that I'm playing, I'm like, man, I could be working. But then I don't want to work because it's like, well, if I work, I'm going to literally need to do what I'm doing now. So I need to play these video games, but I don't want to play. I just want to work.
I was thinking last night, I wonder what Tate's doing right now. I bet he's shooting some hot chick. And you were indeed shooting some hot chick, but not like I thought.
Oh, yeah, no. I was shooting. I wasn't shooting my shot. I wasn't shooting any hot chicks, but I was shooting, and it was glorious.
You're halfway there.
Yeah. I jumped in that Call of Duty game, and I was just like, man, I'm ready to cap some fools in the name of the Lord.
Not Fortnite.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, man. Well, snap. I didn't really forget to do my introduction because I always have this little like beginning interlude thingy. But anyway, for the folks that are listening and also watching, hey guys, welcome to the Breakers of Bread podcast. I'm your host, Detavius the Black. My, the other co-host is actually, I think, upstairs sleeping. I don't know. He's somewhere. I think he had a long day. He worked very hard, and I kind of worked hard. Like, I didn't. Like, I worked hard, but like kind of not really. Like, I did stuff, and then I like played Call of Duty. I feel like if I had enough free time to play video games, I didn't work hard enough, but whatever. But anyway, I am here with 2 of my amazing friends whom I discovered. Was it this year or last year that we became friends?
This year, yeah.
Okay, sweet. That's what I thought, because I was like, I don't think it was last year, but okay, sweet. Yeah, so introduce yourself, guys.
I'm Harrison. I'm a photographer, I guess you could say.
Yeah, you are.
I'm a senior in high school. And I'm with Gabe Hampton.
I'm Gabe Hampton. I'm 16 and don't know how to read.
That's amazing. I feel like I have friends of like a very wide like age range. Like it goes from like, I don't know. I think it literally goes from like 2 years old all the way to like 2000. Because if we
Imagine if you playing Call of Duty with a toddler.
I probably like if he was old enough. If he's old enough to walk, he's old enough to play Call of Duty. That's how I feel about it.
I mean, now you grab the controller, son, and see that head right there? You zoom in and you shoot it. You blow it right off. You do that a lot.
What is the name of the Lord?
Exactly.
I think if you say the name of the Lord, it's okay.
I think so.
Hashtag Crusaders. That was like all medieval history. Like I can't remember the specific time that all happened, but if I had to like summarize medieval history, it's like, how would you summarize? Well, everything they did was in the name of the Lord. It's just that 80% of what they did was killing.
It was like Zach Fox was talking about on Genius, and he was like, Crusades, man, dudes, they're white, they're black, they're brown, and they were just battling it out, you know? Who loves God more? I love God more. No, I love God more. And that's, I think, a very true statement from a very wise man.
Yeah. Speaking of Zach Fox, okay, so I'm pretty sure you two have heard Kenny Beats and Zach Fox's song. I mean, it's not old, but it's like it's been out for a while.
Of course.
What was one of the lyrics on that song? Oh, by the way, it is like,
I know them.
Huh?
I know them. I can tell you what the lyrics are.
Hey, nah, we're good. I mean, we can post the lyrics in the description.
Oh, is that one? Wait, is that
Jesus is the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Love that song.
If you ain't a Christian, I'm gonna stab you in the face.
Yeah, that's such a good song.
I mean, it's facts.
It is. So a little I think it's time for like a little fun fact to start off the whatchamacallit, because I know that there was some things that I wanted to ask you two in specific, but so remember how I was telling you guys about Call of Duty last night and about how I went hard in my session?
Oh, it was 7 minutes ago.
Yes. So Harrison texted me this morning and he was like, what did you say? Hold on. I actually want to read the message because I think you'll find this funny. So he said, okay, how do you want to work this out? We have a legit mic so you could Google Hangout so we could use it. And Google Hangout you so we could use it. And I was like, and for 2 seconds, I completely forgot what you were talking about. And in that moment, I was just like, I shouldn't have played Call of Duty last night. I like.
What is happening? Why do we need somebody?
Yeah, I was like, wait, what do you? And it was at 9:03. Like literally, it was like.
Yeah.
I think it was a little bit after I had woken up, which I don't know. It's too many words for things, but I was like, because like it was in my mind the whole day, and then like the second I got on Call of Duty, it just went out. It like completely went out the door. But ooh, excuse me, dang, this water is hitting. But this week has also been like a very interesting week, and so I've had I wouldn't say a lot going on, but it's been like one of those things where I'm just like ooh. But what? Get Disney, get Hulu, Disney, and ESPN for a Hulu. Wow. Okay. Hulu. Okay. But oh sweet, okay, so kind of give the people a little bit of information about what you two do, because I've already talked for almost 10 minutes and I'm like, I don't want to talk for the rest of the podcast, but I actually want to ask questions, so I'm gonna have to do that. But yeah, tell the people a little bit about what you do. You can pick whichever goes first, because that will kind of, I guess, domino into the other questions that I have for you guys.
About what we do, just in free time and life.
Yeah, just in general in life, kind of your you can kind of say like your hobbies or like your aspirations and stuff like that, like what you hope to do in life.
Yeah. So as I said earlier, I'm a photographer, I guess. That's so weird to say. I just like taking pictures of cool stuff.
I think you're a photographer, 100%.
Oh yeah? I'll take that as a compliment. I get to travel a lot, which is super cool.
Yeah.
My dad travels a ton for his work, so he can bring me out to really, really cool places. So I'm blessed with that, because not a lot of people can travel at such a young age.
That's true.
And I've had a ton of opportunities, which is, it's crazy, and it's getting silly at this point. I'm sort of ready to just be in one place for a bit, but trying to figure out college for next year or not college.
Tight.
I think ironically, I'm going to go and travel some more during a gap year, but we'll see. I'm just trying to figure out where God wants me.
I feel you.
And where I fit into the plan.
Yeah.
And I don't just want to, I feel like going into college right now would be a waste of time because I'm not completely dedicated to it.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to completely just dig in and go, but I don't want to put money and time where I don't really want to be.
Yeah.
So
I feel that.
I think I'm just going to gap year, maybe do some online courses, knock out a few credits, but nothing too big.
Yeah.
Get some credits out of the way, work some, travel some, just have fun for a year. But I don't know. I know I want a job that isn't very standard, I guess. I know I don't want an office job. I know I don't want something I don't like just for money.
Yeah.
So we'll see where I end up. If I end up down by the river in a van, so be it.
Oh.
You and I are different people.
Well then, that's a great kickoff. Gabe, where do you want to be in 10 years?
I want to. Oh man.
Alive, hopefully.
How old am I?
You're 16.
16. Well, alive.
26.
Hopefully. Alive. Hopefully. I'll be 20 years.
That's so funny. I sort of assumed you're 17. Low-key.
Really?
You're going to be 17.
In like 6 months.
Well, you're going to be graduating
At 16.
high school.
I turned. Yeah.
That's sort of the big baller move right there.
That's a big baller move.
In the House of Representatives, 25.
25.
Probably in the House of Representatives.
Why?
Because I want to be a politician. I mean, I want to
make a lot of money.
No, but it's a good kickoff. I mean, you guys start somewhere.
That's very true. That's very, very true.
What happened to real estate agent?
Huh?
What happened to real estate agent?
I'm still going to do that.
Oh, you're still going to make bank?
I'm going to make so much bank. I swear. No, seriously. I'm going to be like Kanye one day. Okay? Yeah. No, I'm not kidding. I'm going to start a church, and I'm going to be a politician, and I'm going to be president of the United States, and I'm going to do all these things, and I'm going to be so rich, and it's going to be awesome.
In the name of the Lord.
In the name of the Lord.
Literally,
In the name of the Lord. Literally in the name of the Lord.
No, literally, okay? I'm moving to Phoenix at some point here. I read a thing that said Phoenix is like one of the most godless places in the U.S.
Yeah, that's very true.
And I saw when I was like 8, because when you're 8, you don't recognize bad acting. So I saw God's Not Dead in theaters when I was like 8. So bad.
I mean, like, good premise. Good
He said when you're 8, you don't recognize bad acting, and then said God's not dead.
I mean, it's good. God's Not Dead is
Yeah.
Oh.
No, seriously. It's like all the Christian music. It's like, it's like good intention. Like, good for you. Yay, you're doing something. But, like, it's not good.
Yeah.
So, but I was 8, and I walked out of the theater, and it hit. And I was like, we have this atheist friend there. And I said, we got to bring because I go to Elevation. I said, we got to bring an Elevation out here. We got to start a church here. And my dad was like, that's really interesting that you say that. And then every time we go back, it just keeps like popping up. Like, we got to start a church here. And they don't, I guess, I don't know. They have life in the way. They have, their daughter and their schooling and stuff to think about. I don't have anything to think about but what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And so I feel like I've felt like I needed to do that for so long. That's probably one of the ultimate aspirations, just because I've felt it for a long time. And right now is when I'm supposed to be deciding what I'm going to do. So why not, you know?
Yeah. My bad. Or you finish?
No, I'm done. I'm good.
Oh, okay. It's such an interesting time being like in the range of like 16 to 18, because you're at the point where you're understanding that you know nothing, and then everyone's like putting pressure on you to decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life and everything.
Yeah.
So it's like it's really weird. Like everyone's kind of coming to know that, because I think that like 16 is the start of coming to know yourself, which is why like some people would say like, well, maybe like 14, 16. But I think like 16, like across the board, like 16 for boys and girls is like the age of like that you start to kind of the process of starting to know yourself. And so that's when like everyone goes through all these different phases and stuff like that. Like they're figuring things out. And it's like you say, you like at 8, you don't really recognize bad acting, but it's like true. But at 16, you start to understand, you start to kind of get a feel for whatever is, you know, it's like, nah, it's something, but you're learning how to, I guess, communicate with yourself. You're learning how to communicate with the world. I guess in some people's cases, learning how to either communicate with God or, you know, the universe or whatever, you know, and you're just figuring out just different things about you. And so it's super interesting to see how many people like are with this whole, like, I want you to decide what you want to do for the rest of your life. And honestly, even at 18, I was not fully prepared to make a commitment to something that I just didn't really like, not that I didn't understand, but that I just didn't really want to kind of take, you know, like just go 100% in, because it wasn't really the topic of what I was studying. It was the means of getting there. So like if I'm studying architecture and I'm going to college for 4 years, 4 to 12 years, however long, just to figure out something, you know, about, you know, just different things, I want to go for architecture. I don't want to go for 4 to 8 different other classes that have nothing to do with architecture. The only thing that I might let slide is history. Like, and this is coming from like a person who absolutely loves math, but everything else is like almost irrelevant, because I'm like, none of this stuff interjects with what I do, because I have to put it in that pathway. And I would say even in the same thing about like for you, Gabe, there's four completely different fields that you are bringing together. And that's one of the coolest things that I think people can do. And seeing dreamers dream is still one of the coolest things to me personally. And so it's like, all right, I have these like 3 or 4 dreams. I'm going to put them together. And honestly, it's one of those things where it's like, I guess to get like, not to be super, super spiritual, even though I am super, super spiritual. But I always think about in a sense how God has made so many different things that don't really interject, which is like kind of going against my former statement. But like when I explain it, you'll understand why I don't like school, but why I like when things naturally do. But like you can combine 4 completely different things, and you can do this thing where it's like for instance, you have the universe, which everything kind of rests in. Then you have the world, which everything rests in, and then you have your I guess people, animals, and stuff, which you know that all rests in. And then you have individual souls that rest in the people. And people would say, oh, those 4 things go together, but they really don't, because their entire existence, really the only thread is like maybe one thing. And so those 4 things are completely different things that all serve 4 different purposes, because the earth doesn't serve the same purpose as a human, nor does a human serve the same purpose as a universe. But somehow, some way, those 4 things come together so naturally, and we don't even question it. They come together. It's like absolutely ridiculous how well they flow. And so when looking at the genius of God and kind of who he is, like sometimes I wonder about like people like Harrison and traveling and this dream. And it's like what Harrison does, technically they flow so well together. But in the grand scale, it's like traveling and photography go well together. But everything else that he does also, it's like it interjects in itself, but in a way that's just natural. So that's why I don't like college, because nothing that they do is natural, because they're trying to throw everything at you rather than just letting it interject just naturally. But I know that was like all over the place. I felt like that was like 26 different like chat bubbles, and it was like connecting them. And you're like, I don't know how you do this, but like, I guess somehow, some way it kind of makes sense, because it doesn't to me still, but it does.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
I hate how, I guess, ritualistic college is.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you got to high school and then 4 years of college and then find a job. And I hate, like you said, how it's like, oh, I want to study this. It's like, well, cool. Here's 2 years of random classes to take.
Yes.
But I want to study this.
Yeah.
Like,
I've seen so many movies about high school, and you get to high school, and it's completely different.
Oh, always.
But it's better than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. And so college is a means to an end for me, which is money. But
yeah, having a degree expands.
It opens a lot of doors.
It doesn't even matter what you have a degree in. If you have an English degree, it's like, oh, you went to
college.
even
say I went to college. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not knocking on anyone who didn't go to college. Obviously, there's different things for everyone to do. I mean, people always talk, oh, you got to go to college to get a good job and make good money. But there's people who go to trade schools and do specialized stuff like that and make six figures.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Trade school does make that. And so,
and nobody's going into it. Like my dad, he works in building data centers, and they cannot find anybody to actually build the buildings that they're designing and managing.
I mean, I think college, going back to the movie thing, like I've seen so many movies about college, I think it's exciting.
Yes.
Based on the movies, it looks kind of useless, but really fun. But I'm hoping that there's more meaning than they have in the movies, just like there was with high school.
Yeah.
And I think that college is going to be good, and it's going to be the last sort of carefree 4 years I have.
Oh, I feel that.
So I'm going to enjoy it while I have it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely different for you because you're 16 and you're 17.
Well, and I'm doing the gap year too, not because I don't want to go to college my first year out of high school, but because I'm graduating and turning 17 like 2 weeks later, and I also want to go across the country. And my parents are like, we don't want you to go across the country, but when you're 18, we can't stop you. So I got to wait till I'm 18 to do that.
I feel you.
I thought about, just for a brief second, what if I went to ASU?
How good would that have been?
What if I went to ASU with Gabe? And that was a rabbit hole.
You tell me that wouldn't be so fun.
It would be so much fun, but I'm not just going to follow you to college.
I was about to say to the where? Wait, what's it called?
Arizona State.
Oh. I plan on visiting Arizona.
What do you think we were saying?
I didn't know. I didn't know. Like I said, it came into my ears, and it's like, it was literally like I was reading, those games where the words are not like, and when I explain this, like the first game that comes in your mind, it's not that one, but it's like those games where the word, like it's like different spaces or whatever, and you have to figure out what the word is, and all the letters are at the bottom. And then you pretty much have to, it's like, because you hear it, like you see it, you're like, okay, this obviously is a word.
Is this Wheel of Fortune? Because I feel like this is Wheel of Fortune.
Is this Wheel of Fortune, or what's the one with the board and then you have the letters and you're trying to like...
Jeopardy? No, I think that is Wheel of Fortune, where it's like the board and you have to be like, hey. Scrabble. Yes. This is like Scrabble.
Yeah. You did a really weird explanation of that.
No. But like, Okay, actually, it's
No, it's you.
well. Hold up. Actually, I take that back because it's not Scrabble. This is why I said the first game that comes to your mind. It's not what you think it is because the spaces that like. I'll send you a screenshot later of what I made, dog. It's like I said, like usually I got to get back to waking up at like 6 o'clock because this ain't it. I wake up at 8 and I'm just discombobulated. Like this is not cool. But there was actually a question that I think it was something that came to mind recently that I thought was one of the most interesting things. And I can't really specifically put my finger on it, but when it comes, I definitely will like ask. But one of the things that, so all three of us, we love Jesus, we love the Lord and whatnot. I would hope. But one of the things that I've been kind of coming to understand and see is that we have, actually, I won't even talk about that just yet. I'll save that one. But how do you guys feel about Kanye converting into Christianity? And I hate using like super popular topics because it's just like clicks, but I actually like talking about a few of them only because of the fact that like I like to see where people's opinions are, and I like to see kind of like where they're coming from. Because I've heard a plethora of different things about Kanye's conversion, which is funny because Kanye is like I remember Jesus Walks, and I was like, okay, so Kanye, like I don't know, like Kanye's a Christian, he believes, like, I don't know, and then like now we're like, oh no, Kanye, like he was like, no, I'm a Christian, and I was like, okay, that's what's up, like that's all right. So yeah, I wanted to hear your thoughts and whatnot about this because it's, I mean, obviously, like it's huge for the Christian community and oddly enough the hip hop community kind of, but yeah, I wanted to kind of see what you guys had to say about it.
I'll let Gabe take most of this, but I want to start off just with a little nugget because Gabe, you know a lot more about Kanye than I do, so you can get backstory and
you know how I feel about this.
Yeah, and the timeline of it. But I just want to say, I think as a church and as Christians, a lot of people have looked at Kanye and gone, "Oh, look at what he's done," and like, there's no way that like that guy's Christian, or like, do you know what he's rapped about? Like, do you know
Drunken hot girls?
Yeah, like yeah. And I think that's so hypocritical of us to preach, oh, we're separate from our sin. We're forgiven. Like there's no sin that you can do that brings you away from God. And then the moment when the biggest rapper converts to Christianity, you go, oh, but he can't do that. And that's just against everything Jesus was.
Yeah.
There was a prostitute that went and I think either washed his feet or oil on his feet or did something, and everyone was like, Jesus, like, do you know who she slept with? Like, do you know what she is?
Rachel. Not Rachel. What's her face? It was
Mary.
Martha, right?
Yeah, Mary.
Yeah.
Mary Martha. Mary.
And Jesus is like, I don't care. Like, they're forgiven. Their sins don't define who they are. So I think if we look at it from that perspective, we can't be the judge. That's not our place.
Yes.
But I'll hand it over to Gabe because you know the things, and you are very passionate about this.
I am very passionate.
I'm passionate about like the Christianity. Shut up. I'm like really passionate about the forgiveness side of it and how Christians see it and how we're perceived. But I'm passionate about the Kanye side. About the Kanye side, yeah. So I'll let you take it.
He's like, yeah, man, Kanye's. Oh man, I can see it in his, and I can feel it. He's so excited to talk about this.
I'm literally not kidding. I think this is gonna sound so nuts. I think that
Kanye is the second coming of Jesus.
No, Jesus. No.
I wouldn't be surprised if he said it though.
Yeah, no. We're not going there. No, but man, I became a Kanye fan at the beginning of this year. And I was always a little bit of a fan. Like, it was like I'd hear a song and I'd like it, and I had Yeezys, and I was like, yeah, Kanye, you know.
And I think you sort of got into hip hop a lot more recently.
I did.
You've been trickling into like Kendrick.
I'm trying to do it all.
Thank you. Finally. We were telling you that album absolutely slapped, and you were just like, nah, I might listen. I was like, no, you need to listen to Kendrick. I'm telling you, because Logic.
Well, you hyped it up so much. Well, okay, yes, okay. This is the same thing. Dark Fantasy, and I delayed it. Yeah. So but looking back to the course of events here, I think Kanye, because of all the stuff he's doing, I saw a video of him doing Ghost Town at a Sunday service before all this Jesus King stuff even happened.
Yeah.
And I had a feeling. I was like, that man, he's gonna do something. Like, he's gonna do something really good here really soon. Like, I feel like this is gonna happen. And it gave me, I guess it used to be, this is gonna be a rabbit trail. I hate it, but that's how my brain works.
Go for it.
I used to be in this thing called Elevation Worship Academy, and it's through Elevation Church.
Shameless plug.
Most of you who know that probably know what Elevation Church is, but it was, I guess, it was like musical training from the worship leaders, and for a while there, that was like, basically. But it was like they had that one, and then they had school of worship for people who were actually old enough to be worship leaders. But it was sort of like it ignited a passion for worship, but like high quality worship. Because that's been something that's always frustrated me is worship music can be so good, or like so well intentioned, and just fall short musically in so many places. And it always bothered me. So I think Elevation gave me that passion for a while, and I sort of fell out of it. I think Kanye brought me back into it, and it's given me a passion for like production value in worship and worship music. Because if you think about it, Christians, we have God on our side. We should be making the best music, not the music that gets looked down on as one-dimensional or bad.
Yeah.
And so, people always say, well, you need to do hymns and all that, and hymns are beautiful. Okay, that's not a knock on hymns, but people, they get stuck in their ways. They want to do the same songs over and over. They want to keep the production the same.
Yeah, it's like we can't put God in a box, so why would we put our worship music in a box?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
We cannot put it in a box. And so, I think that Kanye, it may just be me, it may not just be me, but part of Kanye's purpose has been to ignite that passion in people and bring that back. And it's so wild because looking at all the things that have impacted my spiritual journey, Kanye is one of the bigger ones.
Yeah.
It's really weird because it's like, it's Kanye.
Yeah, it's Kanye.
You can trace all these things that have impacted me back to like a single text or whatever. And I remember when the exact moment I became a Kanye West fan, it was a single text because I was avoiding listening to Dark Fantasy because everyone was like, oh, it's the best album ever. You gotta listen to it, dude. And I was like, oh, okay, I will. And I was avoiding it because, you build it up in your head and it's not what you wanted it to be, and you're disappointed.
Disappointment!
Yeah. So, but I was on the tarmac in San Francisco, about to take off.
Flex.
Oh.
Yeah. No. But I was in San Francisco. That's actually not a flex. I was only in San Francisco because we didn't want to pay for a direct flight, but whatever.
Bigger flex,
So,
okay.
Yeah. But we were about to take off on the red eye, and my friend Tanner texted me and said, hey, I think I'm into Kanye now. I said, wow, that's good. What's your favorite song? And she said, Runaway. And I said, okay, I don't think I've heard it. I gotta listen to it. So I downloaded it on my phone, and I played it, and as soon as the wheels lifted off the ground, the beat dropped, and I was a Kanye fan. Like, that was it. And I looked over, and the city, it's like, feel like that's one of those songs that everyone remembers where they were when they first heard it. And this is a rabbit trail. I'm going to tie it up. But it's one of those songs. And that made me a Kanye fan. The next week, I listened to everything he'd ever released. And then the week after that, I listened to everything that he hadn't released that I could get my hands on. But then I started digging into him as a person. And I think that Kanye is one of the coolest examples of how God can develop someone's character ever.
Yes.
Honestly, I mean, it's like Saul.
Yeah.
Saul the Paul. I was just thinking. Yeah. And so, and obviously it's not to the same extent. Like, he wasn't hunting Christians. But just the journey is so wild. From Jesus Walks to when his mom died, I am a God, back to Jesus is King.
Yes.
And so, man, I know it's not, I know Jesus is King is not musically his best album, but I think content-wise, it's probably my second favorite because I'm not going to diss Dark Fantasy, I'm sorry.
It's the second best album of the year.
What's the first?
Wale's Wow, That's Crazy. Yeah, I think that was the best album of the year. But that's the Kanye's album was a close second. I mean, a very close second. But yeah, when Wow, That's Crazy got released. Huh?
I'm surprised that you say that. I thought you were going to knock on Jesus is King because musically, it's not Kanye. It's not up to par with Kanye.
Still
and I think a lot of the lyrics could be a lot deeper.
Just the light.
But no, it's still an amazing album.
Yeah, it's a great album.
I think a lot of criticism can come from comparing it back to Kanye.
Yeah.
But that's the old Kanye.
I feel like it's a completely new era in Kanye. Like, you can split up all his other albums into what was going on in his life at the time. And I think that this is just a completely new thing. Like,
oh,
you
yeah.
divide Kanye's biography in two, this is the start of the second half. If I had to guess. Because I listened to it and I was like, that feels like something completely new. Like, that feels completely different. That's going to be the start of it. Like, it's not the end. It's not the end of this long album release. It's the start of a new Kanye era. And I think that looking at the character development, I think that looking at Kanye, I think Kanye is just getting started as far as what things he's doing. Where I think people go wrong is saying, oh, God needs Kanye. God doesn't need anyone, okay? Yeah. It is cool that God has taken Kanye and used him for his purpose. Mm-hmm. And I believe is going to continue to use him for his purpose. And it's cool to watch him on TV with James Corden talking about how God is flexing with Kanye. And it's so funny. And he's still Kanye. He's still human.
He's still very egotistic.
He is.
And he's still Kanye.
He's still Kanye. And I still love it. He's like my favorite person.
But I think the fact that people are getting offended by him being Christian,
it's absurd.
Well, it's absurd, but I think it's great. I think the fact that Christians are getting offended by it, and that non-Christian, like previous Kanye fans, are like, oh, this is trash, and but it's making me think about it.
It's polarizing, but it's bringing the topic to the forefront.
Yeah, because if as Christians, if our main goal was make everybody comfortable, not offend anybody,
we'd listen to Reckless Love.
Not even Reckless Love.
People still get offended by Reckless Love, dog. What you mean? I've heard people hate on Reckless Love so often. It's freaking crazy. They're like, man, if I hear Reckless Love one more time, I'm like, bro.
We would listen to Chris Tomlin. Yeah, we'd listen to Chris Tomlin.
Hey, Chris Tomlin slaps. You tripping.
Whoa, Toby Mac, man. Hey, rest in peace to his son. Okay, no disrespect, Toby Mac's son. I feel bad, but Toby Mac is not good music.
Toby Mac, listen, like when I was
no. I feel like at one point in everybody's life, Toby Mac
was on repeat, and yes, he was on at one point, yes.
I'm proud of it.
But I grew up on gospel, so my standards for music, my standards for music are high because of the fact that I grew up with gospel. and Kanye was able to somehow, some way, have that same quality, but in a different way. So hearing Jesus is King was really nice for me. But yeah, I agree with you. But yeah, continue definitely. I like this. This is a nice thought.
Yeah, I want to add on the gospel thing because I'm at my old church, my first church in Seattle. Musically, that church was it. Like, we do full on gospel music. We do instrumental jazz as worship music. We had like literally everything. We had
What is the church?
acapella, like opera. It was what was it called? Antioch. It was like it was a smaller church, but it was like
Where? I want to go there.
Kirkland. It's changed.
You said
So we had
Seattle?
yeah, Kirkland, Seattle.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
Kirkland, Washington.
Gotcha.
It's a very, very rich white suburb of Seattle,
Dang.
which I'm glad I'm not there for because I'm not sure who I would be.
Ooh.
It's just a bunch of teens with way too much money to know what to do with.
So, Weddington.
Like times 10.
How is
Like
that
each
even
kid
possible?
has their own
Weddington
phone.
is kind of... Whoa.
Yeah.
I kind of want to live there, low-key.
But yeah, no, I think
Gabe.
the biggest shock for me was coming from that kind of church where music was so important and so flexible and so impactful
Yeah.
and non-apologetic. Then going to Toronto, Canada, went to a church there for 2 years, which is very conservative.
It's Toronto.
Okay, good. Okay, boomer.
Stop.
So in Charlotte, my first church here was very, very white. And compared to a lot of the other churches, it was very out there, but still, compared to what I was used to and compared to a lot of churches I'd been to, it was very stand up, sit down. If you're worshiping a bit too hard, you might get some funny looks. Like, if you're drumming on the back of the seat, that's a bit out there. You might want to calm down there.
Did you just call me out?
No,
Do that?
No, that's what I did. I was like, oh wow, freaking out there. And then going to it,
I'm so edgy, bro.
my new church, it's such a polarized difference because it's non-apologetic,
Yeah.
but it's not new age. Like, let's add to the gospel. It's so like rooted in the gospel, and any idea that is brought up there, it's like, okay, what does the Bible say about it?
Yeah.
So it's so biblical, but it's so unapologetic is all I can think of right now.
Yeah.
Like worship, it's meant to be like our time with God.
Yeah.
And if our time with God is just standing there worried about what everybody else is thinking of us, or like worried about people around us, or like anything, then that's just a waste of time.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing, this is also a big rabbit trail, but the biggest thing is making it your own. And I think I love hearing stories like, so Kanye, that story of like huge redemption is insane. But I love the stories of faith where it's like, I was born into a Christian home and always was a quote unquote Christian. But like, this is where it, like this moment or like this transition was where it became real for me and became my faith and not my parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think as inspirational as like insane Kanye's transition is, that shouldn't be the gold standard because God works
There is
so many, God works in so many different ways and in so many different people that we shouldn't be jealous or shameful of how we became Christian and how we got to where we are.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome that Kanye has made such a 180, and I think it's so cool that it's so public and so out there.
Yeah, it's really nice.
It doesn't have to look like that. Like,
Yeah.
And it's not for everybody. It's not always going to be like, oh yeah, like this huge miracle happened, and like I knew like this is what I need to be doing, or like for me, my transition was literally just 6 months before a mission trip where I was like, okay, I need to pray more and I need to make my relationship with God more personal.
Yeah.
And in that 6 months, it was just constant prayer. So I didn't see a change. I just kept on praying. And then after the mission trip and during the mission trip, I would have people, like close friends with, like, yeah, 6 months ago you were a completely different person.
Yeah.
Which was wild to me. It was wild to see that. But it was so cool.
Yeah.
It's just a reminder that it's not, like, change isn't always instant. And expecting it to be that is sort of a fallacy. And you need to, like, stuff takes time.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times in the church, they can put a perception on you. It's like, oh, if you're not, like, speaking in tongues and prophesying, and, like, if there's not such a, like, obvious change, then you're missing out on something.
Yeah, it's weird.
The more intimate thing is where it takes time.
Yeah, for sure.
Where you can say, yeah, I stuck with it, and just doesn't need to be a big revelation to actually matter.
Yeah. The segue into, I guess to piggyback off of, I wonder who was the first person that said, well, to piggyback off your thought. And then someone said, that's a good phrase. I'm going to keep using that. But I was actually having a conversation with a friend, and we were talking about something similar. Because there's three thoughts, two things specifically. I feel like every Christian wants to have their own, like someone had a come to Jesus moment because of me. I don't, like, ever in my life. And the only reason I say that is because of the fact that, like, it's not a trophy and it's not an achievement, because people they're not goals. When I talk to people, wherever they are, whenever we're talking about God and just different things, I express a lot of concerns. I express realness, because if the first thing that I introduce you to in a conversation about God is anything but my love for him, or, just like my odd fascination at, just this weird, I'd say obsession, then to a newcomer, that might be a little weird, because to us, it's normal. We understand. But when I have a conversation with people about who I think God is, the curiosity of it, I'm like, whether God is male or female, is God, like, as a father, who is he? How is he? What is he? Who is God? Where does he reside? All these different things. It's a very real intimate moment, because I'm sharing this, just a side that I want people to see. I want people to know that they can ask these questions regardless of how long you've been in the game. And when, let's just say that they go home and they say, like, God, like, I think I want to, like, start talking with you now. Like, I want to kind of accept Jesus into my heart. Then it's like, does my conversation have to do with that? A little, but at the end of the day, their life is what brought them there. It's not even, some people might be like, oh, it was destiny. No, it was free will. Their life brought them there by choice, and they did that. So to take credit for one moment that, switched them over, it's crazy. I couldn't see myself doing it. And people want to go to church to test it. Well, and nothing against the people who do this, but I think a lot of people want to share moments like that with their friends, because it's like almost like this subconscious competition. Like, how many people can I pray for that's going to accept Jesus into their life? How many, it's like in their mind, like, how many hands can I get raised on my own? And there's so much more compassion, and it's just so much more things to do when you're just naturally going through the flow of life. Because I was thinking about Christ's ministry, and it was weird because he never did an altar call. He just said, hey, if you want to accept salvation, this is how you do it. And then he kept moving. It was the weirdest thing to me in the moment, but it was a simple thing. I love church when they, do have the salvation call and whatnot. It's one of the coolest things ever. But I think people have almost, in a sense, outside of church, have turned it into this thing where it's like, we have to put together a celebration So when it happens, like we can just blow it out of the water, which of course you should, but internally. And it takes away from the fact that like, if I'm worrying about their salvation, the entire conversation, then I'm not even worrying about them. I'm just worrying about the converted version of them, the them that I want. And people are going to come to Christ in their own way. And and one thing I've noticed is that they all want them to have this crazy coming to Jesus moment. But at the same time, like it always has to be in like coming from prayer or something like that. It has to, come from some zone of Christianity that they're in. So whether it be prayer, whether it be a healing moment, whether it be like watching like God's Not Dead, just something, it has to be something where it's like Jesus is somewhere like evidently involved. But, there's moments where Jesus sneaks up, even he said like, I think it was about the end times, like the day, like I think it was like the day of the Lord will sneak upon you like a thief in the night. It's one of my favorite phrases to use, but he can be discreet if he needs to. Like Jesus literally snuck through a crowd of people that were trying to kill him. Don't think that this man cannot be sneaky. He can, and he can touch the most personal parts without the need for an introduction. Like I'm not his curtain call. Like I'm not the person that introduces him in the play. Like this isn't even a play. This isn't like, this is wherever we go, whatever we do, people, like you could talk to someone and say like, what's something nice that someone did for you? It's like, man, I never forget this person paid for my coffee one day and it was the most random act of kindness and nothing was going on. They just did it. And I think about that to this day. And it's like, people are simple. Like they're very simple. It doesn't take that much to really ignite a flame inside of them. Like it's just like regular fire. It doesn't take that much to start a fire. It really doesn't. But the overcomplications of how people do it is what makes these moments feel like they're either more extraordinary or difficult. Yeah. So when, speaking of Kanye, it's an amazing journey to see a man go from what he was to what he is now. And, we absolutely love it. It's a Saul to Paul. And the same people I've noticed that are absolutely just livid over this are the same people that want they want their Bible heroes to be modern day people too. They're like, man, it would be great to have a modern day David. And it's like, not saying this, but it's like, what if Kendrick Lamar was your modern day David, but you don't want him to be? Or it's like, man, I really wish that we had like a modern day Saul to Paul. It's like, well, what if that person is Kanye? It's like, no, absolutely not. I won't take it. And I'm just like, are we not even reading the same Bible? Are we loving the same God? Like, are we truly loving the same Father? Because it doesn't feel like that. And to even speak about change, one of the things that kind of popped into my mind when you were talking about that, like the 6-month process, is that the only things about change that we usually feel is pain. And I know this because think about it. When we're growing as children, we don't even really recognize that we're growing up. We never really recognize that we're getting tall, all of these different things until someone points it out. And then we're like, oh my gosh, like you're right. Like cause like yesterday I was 16 and the day before that I was a fetus. But someone will point out like, oh my gosh, like your birthday's next week. And I'm like, dang, it is. Like, I can't believe I'll be like, 22. I can't believe I'll be 25. I can't believe I'll be 18. That's wild. And people recognize, huh?
Trying to figure out your age.
Oh,
he was frustrated that you kept on saying numbers.
People.
Is your birthday actually next week? Is your birthday next week?
No, it's not. My birthday done passed, dog. My birthday has done passed. Yeah, no. But people recognize change before we do. And change is something that it happens to us all, but we usually only recognize the pain ourselves. And it sucks. It does suck, but I understand why. I remember when my legs were kind of growing into themselves and my knees were just like, I don't know, like reforming. Now, I don't even know how to explain it, but my knees hurt Like it hurt to walk. It hurt to do anything. Like if anything touched them, they hurt. Like it was the most excruciating process ever, but it made me a faster runner and I loved it. I guess it was worth something, but yeah, I think that we as a Christian community have this very interesting, I don't want to call it an issue, but for people that say we're not a cult, we sure do act a lot like a cult. And we're like, it's like this constant, like, it's like we're always battling against each other. And it's like people are putting God in a box. And when we try to say like, don't put God in a box, they're like, no, like this is the way that it should be. We've been doing this for 140 years. I'm like, God has been here longer than this earth. And that's either 5,000 years or 5 billion. Like, how are you going to put someone in a box that's been here longer than all of your ancestors combined? Like, God has been here longer than the amount of money that you would get if like you made $5,000 a week from the time that Christopher Columbus, set voyage till now. Like, there's so many things about God that we haven't discovered yet. And I think one of the reasons is because we keep putting limitations on not even what God can do. Cause we're like, oh, God can do anything. Yes, we understand that. Trust me, Tammy, we do. But we keep putting him in this box. And then that's what he does. He does as much as we put him, like as the box that we put him in, out of respect for us, because he's like, well, this is as much as they want me to go. This is as far as they want me to go. So I'm going to do this for them. But the people that are going by faith, the people that are truly reaching out, those are the ones that have no wall. So I can go wherever, because the first thing, I think the first thing that we want to do straight out the womb, I think, is roam. We awake and we have this desire to see, to experience, to know and understand everything. And, we don't really use that to our advantage. We don't really use that anymore. We become afraid. We become scared. We understand how fragile we are. But that also shows how much we need community, because, I can't remember exactly how the verse went. I think it was either in Proverbs or Ephesians, but he was like, basically, the two heads are better than one. And it's like, I can't remember the specific verse about like two. It's like one person lays at night cold, but two can warm each other up or something like that. And there's so many things that we haven't even dived in with God. There's so many things that we haven't even explored. And we're putting all these rules and regulations on how we're going to reach God. And yet somehow, some way, when the statistics come back, the non-churchy people are usually the people that are gaining more hearts than they're gaining numbers. And someone would ask, well, how is that possible? Like, we see salvations in church all the time. Like, we see a plethora of different salvations. Like, how is that possible? It's like, well, do we keep up with these people after the salvation in the church? More than likely, depending on the church, yes and no. But these people, these different people, I'll say the non-churchy peoples, which is such a weird term to think, because we are the church. So there's no way the non-tabernacle people, they have these amazing stories. Not to say that, people in the church don't have incredible stories, but it's always these amazing stories about how things transpired. And, one of the things that always makes me sad is like when I hear about, it's like, oh yeah, I've been praying for my coworker for 3 years. It's like, well, do you still talk to him? No. Once they accepted Christ, we kind of fell off. How is that possible? How do you pray for someone for 3 years and then fall off after one moment? It feels weird. Not to say that always happens, but it happens a good bit. But I never want my Instagram followers to be filled with just Christian people. I think that would be a waste of time. Plus, I don't post Christian like content, so I think that they would be very offended by anything that I post, because apparently my photography is, as skill wise, is good, but concept wise, it's sketchy for the Christian community, but it is what it is. But I don't want 10,000 Christian followers because of my Christian music or just different things. I want 10,000 followers that came here because they want to understand why I do what I do in the name of the Lord. I want 10,000 followers because they want to understand who this person is that I've been talking about and why I'm so curious about God. Not even just why I love God so much, but like what makes me more curious about him than any other thing. Because curiosity, I think, shows that you have a fascination that you want to understand. Because some people are curious about things that they don't like. It's true. But you have to be aware and you have to pay attention to be curious. Like when you see something happening in class or you just see something happening in general, like let's say a fight. You might not necessarily like the fight, but if you're curious enough, you'll watch every single movement. And sometimes when you love something so much, you become blinded by that love and you don't really get everything. But when you're curious, you see everything. Nothing gets past your eyes because you have a different type of awareness that is looking to see and understand and find different pieces and parts to whatever it is that has basically got your attention, that's fascinated you. I want to make people curious. I don't want to just make people fall in love with who I am. That's great, but how many crushes have you had where you were blinded by love? And then like we could talk about that all day, but the amount of times that we've been curious, like I'm curious about this new place that I'm going. I don't want to miss anything. You know, when you fall in love with something, you get comfortable, you miss a lot. But yeah, I think that, to go off of my rabbit trail, I think we all hit a rabbit trail today. I think that's we definitely hit a bunch of rabbit trails. But yeah, I want to make people curious about God, because I think that when you're curious, like Gabe said, he was like, I heard one song, I went and I listened to everything. Like, that's the craziest thing. He's like, I got my hands on things that weren't even released, whatever I could get my hands on. And it's like, man, you really like Kanye. Yeah, but he was curious. He wanted to know. He wanted to know so many things. And so I think that's the beauty of Kanye, is that he strikes curiosity, but he's probably one of the most uncomfortable things that's happened to the Christian community. And I think that we deserve it, because we've talked about comfort for a while now. And I think we truly deserved it. And I'm glad that it happened. So that's my take on it. My double take.
Yeah.
This water is
Comfort is a weird place.
It is.
It's really hard to grow when you're comfortable somewhere.
Yeah.
Because it just makes sense. It's like, oh, if I'm comfortable here, why would I leave?
Yeah.
Discomfort is huge. And I think it's so easy to say, oh yeah, I want to be uncomfortable and comfort is bad. And not anybody can say that, but
you don't live it.
Yeah, it's hard to live it.
I'm comfortable on my couch in my theater playing GTA, but for hours upon hours, it's comfortable, and I drink Mountain Dew, and I order DoorDash because that's how lazy I get, and I can feel myself rotting away. And I'm fine with it. Like, that's fine, but, like, it's clearly not the most productive time. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah.
As far as the curiosity thing goes, though, I think curiosity fosters so much love, because I think that if we think of God and we're confident that he's a good God, then I think that we can, from that, draw the conclusion that, okay, if you make people curious about God, if you make your Instagram followers curious about God, and you know that God is good, they're curious, they're going to go investigate, and they're going to find on their own that God is good. And that's going to create a love that no human interaction could ever create.
Yeah.
Because we take it down to that level of the hand raising, and that's cool, and it's awesome to watch and look around and feel good inside and think, man, this church, we're doing stuff.
Yeah, it's the best thing ever.
And it's fun to watch, and it's cool to watch, but it's not, I feel like I am so much more inspired by relationships with God that have maybe been, the curiosity has been kicked off by a person, but the relationship has been built by the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Not any human. I feel like I'm way more interested in that than the off-the-shelf, raise your hand version of salvation.
Yeah.
And I think that if we think God is good, if we think the Holy Spirit is all-powerful, we shouldn't be worried about, is this person going to convert or not? We should be worried about the person. We should love the person the way we know God would want us to. And that'll create a curiosity, and God will do the rest if it's meant to happen.
Yeah. So here's a question, and hold up, where did it go? Oh man, it escaped me. Like it was in my head. Oh, it was right there. Hold up, I'm gonna connect some pieces and then I'm gonna find it, because I'm at the place where I remembered that I started forming the question, but the question hasn't completely formed in my mind yet. So I'm like trying to like piece together everything. So give me a second.
Call of Duty not helping?
Bro, it's not. And I got so stressed on this freaking game. I get so frustrated with Call of Duty, but I know it's a good Call of Duty by how, like, what I get frustrated over, how I get frustrated. And I'm not going to lie. I thought about making a gaming channel and whatnot, but it just wouldn't be very ladylike of me, the things that I would be saying, because there's been a couple moments where some things have slipped out. I'm so sorry, Mom. And I'm just like, I walk away, like I put the controller down and walk away. I'm like, I'm just ashamed of the man I've become. I'm like, because it's like, it's a good game. It's such an entertaining game, and it brings me a lot of joy. But there's some moments where I'm just like, if someone just, if it happens one more time, I'm throwing hands at these hands are becoming rated E for everyone, because everyone can catch them. Because I'm pissed. But it's not like I'm going to just run out the door, because they'd be like, oh, that means that video games induces violence. No, video games induce frustration. Violence is caused by... Here's the question. Okay, so... So on the thoughts of curiosity and whatnot, do you think that we as Christians do you think that we're curious enough? Like, do you think that we are, and it's like hard to explain, but do you think that we are curious enough outside of the bounds of Christianity? And not even a sense of outside of the bounds of God and outside of, like, you know, who he is, but like just Christianity. Like, do you think that we're, as a people, curious enough? Because whether yes or no, like, I still would like to hear your answer, but it's something that I've been considering recently. Like, am I curious enough?
Yeah, outside, there's a lot more to grow. And as we discussed, curiosity is such a huge part. But I'd say no. We're so quick to label people that are curious as weird or as out there. But like, what they're experiencing is so real. That's where curiosity has led them.
Yeah.
And that's where the Holy Spirit wants them to be. And we can see it as like, okay, like, calm down there. But I think we need to be more curious. I don't think there's not like an end to curiosity.
Yeah.
I think the most inspiring thing for me is seeing like 70-year-olds that are still so curious and finding more and more meaning in the Bible every single day. And
yeah.
See one verse or one story, and it means something completely new to them.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most inspiring things for me, knowing that there's always more. behind God? Like, if I know everything about him and understand him fully, why am I serving him?
Yeah, that's like,
I think
what am I doing?
curiosity is always going to be there, and that's one of the most exciting things for me in aging, that more knowledge is available and experiences are available, and that's all through curiosity.
Yeah. What's up, guys? It's your host, Detavius. So I actually have planned to split this in two, and that is why you're hearing this now. And so the next episode should be following after this one, and of course it will be labeled. But I wanted to split this into two just to kind of space it out enough to where it's not like one super duper long episode. I might do this in the future, or I might just start making them depending on how they roll out, just one specific episode. But I wanted to kind of give you an update and also do an outro for this and not just leave the outro high and dry. But thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to share with your friends, request, comments, all that good stuff. You can also find us on, if you are listening to this, you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and hopefully, Apple Podcasts, and maybe some other places. Not sure yet. But if you have any requests, you can email us at breakersofbreadpodcast@gmail.com. Or you can simply just go to my Instagram at kneeblack, KNEEBLACK, or comment on YouTube under the comments section, of course, where all the videos will be. And just a quick update: some of them may or may not have footage, but most of them should. And if not, then there'll probably be a graphic, just a little tidbit. But again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. And the next one should be right above or below this one. Thank you again, and peace, drink water, and have a blast.